There are four types of people who own casinos. One of them got started with a gun in his pocket. One of them wears a suit to a boardroom, not a casino floor. One of them owns a boat that never actually leaves the dock. And one of them has never met a single customer because his casino doesn't exist anywhere except on a server. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how each of these four owners built their empire, which one makes the most money without ever touching a chip, and which one is the most likely to end up in prison. Casino ownership isn't one business. It's four completely different businesses wearing the same neon sign. There's the old Vegas mobster, the man who built the entire industry out of cash, concrete, and fear. There's the corporate executive, who turned that same industry into a publicly traded machine. There's the riverboat operator, who found a legal loophole so strange, it's still hard to believe. And there's the crypto casino guy, who realized he doesn't even need a building to run a casino anymore. Let's go through all four, starting with where it all began. In 1946, a man named Bugsy Siegel opened a hotel casino in the middle of the Nevada desert called the Flamingo. It cost around $6 million to build, more than 6 times over budget, and Siegel funded a huge chunk of it with money that belonged to organized crime families back east. This was the birth of the old Vegas mobster ownership model, and the business plan was almost embarrassingly simple. Build a building where gambling is legal, make sure the games are mathematically rigged in the house's favor, and use cash, actual physical untraceable cash, to make sure nobody outside the family ever really knew how much the casino made. Here's the part people forget. Casinos in that era ran on something called the skim. Before the money was ever counted for tax purposes, a portion of it, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, was pulled straight out of the count room and driven out of state in suitcases. The Stardust, the Tropicana, the Desert Inn. These casinos were, on paper, legitimate businesses. In practice, they were laundering machines for crime syndicates from Chicago, Kansas City, and Detroit. The mobster owner's real skill wasn't running a casino. It was controlling people dealers, pit bosses, count room staff, even local police and politicians. All of them had to be paid, threatened, or both. And that's exactly why this ownership model collapsed. The FBI spent 2 decades building cases using wiretaps and informants, and by the early 1980s, the skim operations at multiple strip casinos had been exposed in federal court. Owners went to prison, casinos were seized. Nevada's gaming regulators, terrified of losing legal gambling altogether, started requiring a new kind of owner, one who could pass a background check. That single requirement ended the mobster era almost overnight, and it opened the door for the second type of owner entirely. In 1989, a real estate developer named Steve Wynn opened the Mirage on the Las Vegas Strip for $630 million, at the time, the most expensive hotel casino ever built. But the money didn't come from crime families. It came from junk bonds, institutional lenders, and eventually a stock ticker. Wynn's company went public, and with that, the corporate executive owner was born. This owner doesn't run the casino from the floor. He runs it from a spreadsheet. His entire job is treating the casino like a hotel chain that happens to have slot machines, occupancy rates, food and beverage margins, convention bookings, shareholder earnings calls. Companies like MGM Resorts and Caesars Entertainment now operate dozens of properties across multiple states and countries, and gambling itself is often the smallest slice of total revenue. At a modern strip resort, only around a third of income actually comes from the casino floor. The rest comes from rooms, restaurants, shows, and shopping. The corporate executive's biggest advantage is regulation working in his favor instead of against him. Publicly traded casino companies undergo constant background checks, licensing renewals, and audits, and that transparency is exactly what lets them borrow billions of dollars from banks and bondholders who would never have touched a mob-run property. The advantage is scale. The disadvantage is debt. When Donald Trump opened the Trump Taj Mahal in 1990, he financed the $1 billion project with high-interest junk bonds, and the casino defaulted on its debt within a year. The corporate executive model can produce some of the largest fortunes in American business, but only if the debt is managed correctly. Get it wrong, and bankruptcy court is one bad quarter away. Most people assume every casino sits on the Las Vegas Strip. It doesn't. In fact, one of the fastest-growing types of casino ownership in America exists because of a legal technicality involving water. In the early 1990s, several states, including Mississippi, Louisiana, and Missouri, legalized gambling, but only on boats. Lawmakers were nervous about full-scale casino gambling on land, so they compromised. Casinos could operate, as long as they were technically floating on a river. This created one of the strangest ownership categories in the entire industry. At first, these were real boats that actually cruised customers boarded. The boat pulled away from the dock, and gambling only began once you were on the water. But operators quickly realized that cruising cost fuel, crew, and time, and customers hated waiting for the boat to leave. So states quietly changed the rules. Today, most riverboat casinos never leave the dock at all. Some aren't even boats anymore. They're permanent buildings built over a shallow moat of water just deep enough to legally qualify. The riverboat operator's advantage is regulatory arbitrage. Building a casino on land in a state that requires a full destination resort can cost over $1 billion. Building a dockside casino that technically satisfies a floating requirement can cost a fraction of that, while still legally operating slot machines and table games. Mississippi Gulf Coast casinos, for example, generate hundreds of millions of dollars a year in revenue from properties that would never have qualified as legal gambling anywhere else in the state, just a few decades earlier. The catch is competition and hurricanes. Riverboat markets are often saturated with multiple operators fighting over the same regional customer base, and coastal properties face genuine physical risk. Hurricane Katrina destroyed several Mississippi casinos in 2005, wiping out hundreds of millions of dollars in property value in a single storm. The riverboat operator makes real money, but he's playing a smaller, riskier version of the same game the corporate executive plays at scale. The newest, strangest, and in some ways most profitable type of casino owner doesn't own a building at all. He owns a website, a scattering of servers in jurisdictions with almost no oversight, and a set of smart contracts. This is the crypto casino guy. Platforms like stake.com process billions of dollars in wagers using Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other cryptocurrencies, operating out of licenses from places like Curacao, a jurisdiction so permissive that a gambling license there can reportedly cost only a few $1,000s a year compared to the tens of millions required in Nevada or New York. There's no physical building to maintain, no dealers to pay, no surveillance department, no fire code inspections. The entire cost structure of a Vegas resort, payroll, security, insurance, real estate, is replaced by server hosting fees and a marketing budget. This owner's real innovation isn't the games, it's the audience. Crypto casinos are often sponsors of major esports teams, streamers, and influencers, reaching millions of young online viewers who will never set foot in Las Vegas, but will absolutely place a bet from their phone. And because transactions happen in cryptocurrency, oversight in many jurisdictions is dramatically lighter than in licensed, regulated markets, which is exactly why several countries, including the United States and United Kingdom, restrict or ban these platforms for their own residents. The upside for the crypto casino guy is almost unbelievable margins. No real estate, no massive payroll, and a global customer base available 24 hours a day. The downside is legal exposure. Regulators in multiple countries have already begun cracking down on offshore crypto gambling platforms, and an owner operating in this space is one enforcement action away from having his entire business frozen overnight. So let's grade all four. The old Vegas mobster, high short-term profit, but an F for sustainability. This model is functionally illegal today. The corporate executive, the most stable long-term wealth, an A for scale, but a C for risk if debt is mismanaged. The riverboat operator, a solid B, real profit, lower entry cost, but limited by geography and competition. The crypto casino guy, the highest profit margin of all four, but an F for legal durability. Today's biggest earner could be tomorrow's biggest headline. Four completely different businesses, four completely different risk levels, and only one thing connecting all of them. The house always finds a way to win. So out of all four, the mobster, the executive, the riverboat operator, or the crypto guy, which type of casino owner would you actually want to be? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to see the next type of empire broken down like this, subscribe to Cold Doc Explain.